Hi there, everyone. Hope everyone's doing okay. So this video is a little bit special, maybe personal, maybe a little bit heavy, but I want to talk about men's mental health. Not a fake, inspirational, throwaway quote on the black screen kind of way. I mean for real. Because after my video about the hard truth about being a male YouTuber starting to get attention, insane attention. I never thought it would blow up like that. I notice something underneath all the comments about content creation, visibility, and identity. A lot of what people were really reacting to was pain. Male pain, quiet pain, the kind that doesn't always come out as tears, the kind that comes out as anger, isolation, numbness, overworking, drinking too much, going silent, cracking jokes while you and the inside are folding in on themselves. And I know that feeling far too well. So I want to talk about it. What men's mental health actually looks like. Why so many men struggle in silence. Why masculinity keeps getting flattened. And what I think healthy masculinity should actually look like. And my friend Greycoat joked that the icon of hope for men everywhere is going to be a masculine twink. And honestly, that might be the funniest and most accurate sentence I ever heard in my life for a while. Because people look at someone like me and might expect one saying, but this is exactly the point. Masculinity is not owned by one body type, one fashion style, or one aesthetic even, or even one performance. It's bigger than that. Men's mental health matters a lot. And right now, too many men are losing battles that nobody even knows they're fighting. A lot of men still image mental health struggles in men are something obvious. Crying all the time, falling apart publicly, looking visibly broken. But that's not always how it shows up. Sometimes it shows up like irritabilities. Sometimes it shows up like snapping at people you love. Sometimes it looks like sleeping like trash, feeling flat, feeling stress all the time. Taking stupid risks, losing interest in things you used to care about. Or even worse, using alcohol, drugs to escape some of the pain. Porn, work, the gym, gaming, sex, or ambitions to keep yourself from having to feel what's actually is going on in your life. The NIMH specifically lists signs in men like anger, irritability, stress, and hopelessness, substance abuse, substance misuse, risky behavior, and physical complacency without a clear cause. That is the part of why this issue gets missed. A struggling man doesn't always look sad. Sometimes he looks shut down. Sometimes he looks mean. Sometimes he looks emotionally unavailable. And sometimes he just looks fine. Sometimes he's the funniest guy in the room. And sometimes he's hanging on by a thread. A lot of men are taught early that their values are tied to usefulness. Be strong. Be competent. Handle it. Don't complain. Don't be weak. Don't be so needy. Fix it yourself. These are the kind of sayings we hear quite often in life as a man. That kind of socialization can make it harder to ask for help or even recognize you need it. APA guidance notes that boys are often socialized towards self-reliance, strength, minimizing problems, and those norms can interfere with help-seeking or emotional expression. And here's the problem. Self-control is not the same as emotional health. Strength is not the same as emotional suppression. Composure is not the same as being okay. Look, a lot of men don't lack feelings. They lack permission. They lack language. They lack safe spaces. They lack examples. So what happened? What happens now? They translate pain into whatever is culturally allowed. Anger is allowed. Sarcasm is allowed. Detachment is allowed. Grinding yourself into the dirt is allowed. Or being emotionally dead inside but still functional is often rewarded. But grief, fear, loneliness, shame, wanting comfort, wanting to be held together instead of being the one holding everything? A lot of men are made to feel like those things are dangerous to admit. And that is why so many men struggle in silence. This needs more attention because the cause is not abstract. Men are less likely to get mental health treatment even when they are struggling. And the consequences can be deadly. In 2024, only 42% of adult men with any mental illness receive mental health treatment, compared to 60% of women. In 2023, males accounted for nearly 80% of suicide in the United States of America, and the suicide rate was about 4 times than that of women. That's not a small gap. That is not a side issue. That is a crisis hiding in plain sight. And the part of why it makes it worse is that men often don't present the stress in this clean, societal, acceptable way people expect. So instead of saying men are hurting, people say, oh, he's just angry. Oh, he's just distant. Oh, he's just an asshole. Oh, he needs to get over it. Sometimes that criticism is fair. Sometimes people do harm and need accountability. But accountability and compassion are not enemies. You can hold a man reasonably for his behavior, still recognize that unaddressed pain, emotional illiteracy, isolation, and shame can destroy him and everyone around him if they are never confronted. Now, let's talk about masculinity. I am tired of seeing masculinity being treated like a dirty word. Toxic masculinity is real. Harmful behaviors like domination, emotional strangulation, cruelty, entitlement, and defining strength as the absence of tenderness are real problems. But that is not the same as masculinity itself being bad. Masculinity is not evil. Masculinity is not exclusive to men. Masculinity is not one haircut, one voice, one body type, one race, one tax bracket, or one aesthetic. Masculinity is socially shaped. It is a set of meanings, expectations, signals, and traits that cultures attach to strength, protection, assertiveness, leadership, risk, discipline, endurance, and presence. Those meanings change across time, across communities. Scholars in masculinity research treats masculinity as plural, rational, and socially constructive rather than one fixed essence. So when I say masculinity can be healthy, what I mean is this. Courage can be healthy. Strength can be healthy. Assertiveness can be healthy. Leadership can be healthy. Protectiveness can be healthy. And discipline can be healthy. Those are human capacities. What makes them unhealthy is not that they exist. It is how they get warped. Strength becoming dominance. Discipline becomes self-punishment. Leadership becomes control. Stoicism becomes emotional burden. Emotional burial. Protection becomes possessiveness. Confidence becomes contentment. The answer is not to shame masculinity out of people. The answer is to mature it. There is not just one masculinity. That's important. In men and masculinity research, people often talk about multiple masculinities rather than one singular universal one. Cornell's framework is famous for this. It includes the ideas of hegemonic, marginalized, subordinate, and complicit. And later works also discuss protest masculinity. Healthy masculinity is more of a practical, modern term than one classical fixed category, but it is useful because it points at pro-social strength rather than dominant. So let's break down this plainly. Complicit masculinity is when someone may not fully embody dominant masculine ideals, but still benefit from it or go along with it. Marginalized masculinity is when masculinity gets shaped by race, class, disability, or other factors that push someone outside of the dominant standard. Then there's protest masculinity. It is often what happens when someone feels powerless or excluded and overcorrects with exaggerative harshness, aggression, or image. And healthy masculinity, the way I mean it here, is strength with self-awareness, power without cruelty, confidence without insecurities running the show, protection without ownership, honesty without emotional constipation, tenderness without shame. That is the kind of masculinity I want to see more often. Not hollow performances, not domination, not self-erase, not weakness disguised as swagger, real, grounded strength. So, why is masculinity getting mocked, ridiculed, and treated like it's automatically suspicious? Part of it is backlash to real harm. A lot of people have been hurt by men performing the worst versions of masculinity, controlling, arrogance, emotionally stunted, entitled, violence, dismissive, and checked out. The harm is real, and it should be named. They stop distinguishing masculinity from dominance, masculinity from misogyny, strength from emotional illiteracy, confidence from arrogance, leadership from control. And once those distinctions collapse, masculinity itself starts getting flattened into a joke. That is a mistake. Because if you only treat people what masculinity must not be, but never what healthy masculinity can become, you don't create healing. You create confusion. You create shame. You create boys and men who either harden themselves further or start hating parts of themselves they were never taught how to integrate. That helps nobody. So, if you are a man and you are struggling, here's what I can say to you directly. First, your pain is real, even if you are high functioning, even if you're still going to work, even if you're still live, even if you still stream, even if you still crack jokes, even if nobody around you knows. Second, numbness is not the same thing as okay. You need to accept your feelings, your pain, and process it. You cannot bottle it down, okay? Third, you don't have to wait until your life is on fire to get help. It's worth seeking professional help when the stressing symptoms last longer than they should, 2 weeks or more, especially things like sleeping problems, losing interest, irritability, trouble functioning, or difficulty concentrating. 4, start giving your inner life actual language. What do I mean by this? Not just I'm off, not just I'm tired, or not just it is what it is. Get specific. Are you lonely, ashamed, burned out, afraid, emotionally starved, unfulfilled, grieving, angry because underneath the anger is hurt? Specifically, give pain somewhere to go. That is the most healthiest thing to process that pain. Where did it come from? What is it? Not turn yourself off from it. Not accepting it for what it is. Process it. 5th, build at least one place where you don't have to perform a vulnerability. That might be a friend, a therapist, a mentor, a men's group, a journal, a voice memo you didn't send, a prayer, a real conversation in the car in 2 in the morning. I do that sometimes. I don't care where you start. I care that it starts. 6, stop treating coping mechanisms like personality traits. You know what I mean. If you're drinking every night, disappearing into porn, burying yourself in work, isolating or turning every feeling into a joke, that's not just how you are. That may be survival. And survival deserves compassion, but it also deserves honesty. If you care about a man who is struggling, Here's what helps. Don't humiliate him for opening up. Don't instantly try to fix him like he's a broken appliance. Don't make his first vulnerable moment feel like a trap. Ask direct, calm questions. Are you okay? No, really, how are you doing? You seem off lately. You don't have to carry this all by yourself. Do you want advice right now, or do you want me to just listen? Be steady. Be specific. Be patient. A lot of men will not open up the first time you ask. Not because they don't care, not because they're cold, but because many of them have learned that vulnerability is expensive. Here's the masculinity that I believe in. A masculinity that can protect without controlling. A masculinity that can lead without humiliation. A masculinity that can be strong enough to cry and still not feel reduced by it. A masculinity that can be nurturing, disciplined, dangerous when necessary, gentle when needed, accountable always. A masculinity that does not need to dominate femininity. A masculinity that does not need panic around softness. A masculinity that understands caring is not weakness. A masculinity that does not need to be perform 24/7 to be real. And again, I'll say it clearly. Masculinity is not exclusive to men. The traits people often associate with masculinity, courage, steadiness, leadership, protectiveness, discipline, assertiveness, can show up in anyone. So this is bigger than good men or bad men. This is about helping people build healthier relationships with strength itself. I think a lot of men are starving, not just for romance, not just for sex, not just for attention. They're starving for permission. Permission to be human. Permission to be held together. Permission to hurt without being treated as defensive. Permission to grow into strength without being told strength itself is shameful. Permission to build a masculinity that's alive, matured, and grounded instead of hollow and performative. That's why men's mental health deserve attention. That is why this conversation matters. And that's why I'm making this video. Because too many men are suffering in ways that we don't get to recognize until it's too late. And I don't want silence to keep winning. If any of this hits home, talk in the comments. Talk to someone you trust. Check on your boys. Check on yourself. And if you're hurting this bad, please reach out for help. Strength is not refusing support. Sometimes strength is finally telling the truth. Till then, be safe, be well, and take care of yourself. For me, okay?